Okay, great. Well, first of all, I wanted to really say that I'm very excited for the AFD, and I think you're really the best hope for Germany. I think some things that something I think that is just very important is that people take pride in Germany and being German. This is very important. It's okay to be proud to be German. This is a very important principle, and it's okay. It's good to be proud of German culture, German values, and not to lose that in some sort of multiculturalism that dilutes everything.
Well, it's happening, gang. The AFD, the Alternative for Deutschland, Germany's MAGA party, which Elon Musk, as you heard there, repeatedly said is Germany's only hope, has officially become, for the very first time, the single most popular party in the entire nation. This is absolutely astonishing. We've never seen anything even remotely like this in Germany since the end of World War II. But if you've been with us on this channel now for last several years, and if not, make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. But we've been following the AFD very closely ever since they first made their way into the German parliament, the Bundestag, for the first time back in 2017, when they won 13% of the vote. Now, I mean, all bets are off. My, how quickly they grow, right? This nationalist, populist, young patriot party has surged finally for the first time to the number one most popular party in the entire German nation. Come on in, gang. Great to see you all here. I mean, this is awesome stuff. This is what it's like to live in the golden age, right? This is incredible. No one except for us, I would say, of course, but no one in the establishment, in either American or European establishment politics, ever imagined this happening in their worst nightmares. Let me set the stage a little bit here for you. It's a fascinating story of how this came about. So in late February, just several weeks back, Germany held its national elections after their ruling Social Democrats coalition fell apart. Now, everyone did expect an increase in votes for the AFD party, the Alternative for Deutschland, and they got it. Out of the 630 seats in the German parliament, the AFD won 152 seats. That's about 21% of the vote. It was the highest the AFD party had ever seen. They doubled their votes since their last national election back in 2021, and they came in second. They were the second most popular party in the nation, and you can actually see sort of the dramatic increase in their vote share by comparing these two electoral maps. So on the left, as you can see there, that's from their election back in 2021. You see the little tiny blue patches there. That's the AFD. Light blue is their political color. The red there, that's the Social Democrats, the center-left Social Democrats. The black is the so-called center-right CDU, the establishment party of Germany. That's Angela Merkel's former party. Take a look at the right. Look at that. How much? And if you're listening by way of our 20 million podcast downloads, all of Eastern Germany is blue. AFD has already been the single most popular party in East Germany by far, right? But you could see the dramatic difference between 2021 and 2025 there. So in February, the CDU, the Christian Democratic Union, which has been the default majority party for almost the whole of Germany's post-World War II history, these last 7 decades, they managed to pull off about 28% of the vote, which is terrible. It's horrible. In the past, they would usually get 40, 50% of the vote easily. So 28% is like literally cutting their support in half. But nevertheless, they did come in first. Not a clear majority, but they're because they came in first. They're the ones who would decide what the government would look like, who they would want a coalition with. So they came in first, and the AFD came in second. Now, you would think, obviously, by looking at those maps, that the coalition that would be formed would be between the number one and the number two party, right? The center right CDU and the real right, the true right AFD, right? Basically a black and blue map. So that would be the obvious coalition, wouldn't it? No, not if you're playing globalist, particularly European globalist politics. We all have an opportunity to finally stop big tech and government overreach. It's happening, gang. Patriots are reclaiming our privacy. And you have no better way of protecting yourself than with SLNT. That's short for silent. Silent's Faraday products block all incoming and outgoing signals so no one can get their hands on your information. From key FOBs to phones and laptops, simply place your device inside, close the sleeve, and that's it. You're off the grid and safeguarded from unauthorized access. Go silent today by clicking on that link below or going to slnt.com/Turley to save 15% plus free shipping on all qualifying orders. Stay ahead of what's coming and secure your privacy today. Again, that's slnt.com/Turley for 15% off and free shipping on all qualified orders. slnt.com/Turley. The leader of the CDU, Friedrich Merz, he's now set to be the next chancellor of Germany. He declared that there was no way whatsoever that he would ever work with the AFD, precisely because the bullies in Brussels, the EU, hate the AFD. So obviously the AFD is all about national sovereignty. They're all about border security. They're all about mass deportations, everything the EU hates. And so Merz, being a lapdog for the European establishment, has deliberately shut out the AFD from power and decided instead, if you can believe it, to coalition with the SPD, the Social Democrats, who were actually the ones who were in charge, who just got voted out of power in the last election. Let that hit you. The CDU formed a coalition with the very party that voters overwhelmingly voted out of power. And a center-left party to boot. I mean, if there ever were this picture-perfect image of the uniparty, two parties belonging to one and the same establishment, one and the same system, there it is. You get it in Germany. It's right there. This is all part now of what's technically called their firewall, which is a deliberate attempt by all the political parties in Germany, including the wokest of woke far-left parties. Again, in European politics, and just really post-World War II politics in Germany, you're allowed to be as left-wing as you want to be. There is no such thing as far left as far as establishment sentiments are concerned. But you're not allowed to be, quote, right-wing, right? They've demonized right-wingism for the last 7 decades. So Germany has put together all of their parties, including the most far-left parties, to deliberately box out the AFD from ever even coming close to assuming power, which they effectively did over these last several weeks. They completely disenfranchised the whole of East Germany. Eastern Germans voted overwhelmingly for the AFD. They in turn formed their uniparty coalition in Berlin, and the whole of the establishment more or less just breathed a sigh of relief. Many thought the threat of the AFD would die down, that Eastern Germans would just basically, suck it up and who cares? Nobody cares about you anyway. We basically hollowed out all your industrial power. So, and then lo and behold, just 2 months after that election, lo and behold, the latest polls have just come out, and the AFD, to the horror of both the German political establishment and the bullies in Brussels, the AFD has now officially surpassed the CDU as the #1 most popular party in the nation. According to Forza polling, the AFD is clocking in now at 26% support, while the CDU has fallen to just 24%. And it's not just Forza. Ipsos also has their latest polling. And what do you know? The AFD is coming in first with an almost identical 25%. Again, with the CDU at 24%. Now, you have to understand how absolutely unprecedented this is. We have not seen anything like this in German politics for over 70 years. 70 years. A third party breaking through and surpassing Germany's most successful post-war political party, and not just any third party, a MAGA party. I don't know how we would say it. MUDGA, Make Deutschland Great Again, right? A Make Germany Great Again party that has the full support of the likes of Trump and Elon Musk and J.D. Vance. In fact, when J.D. was out in Munich this past Valentine's Day in February, when he gave that fiery speech that excoriated European leaders for crushing free speech and canceling elections, he met with Alice Weidel, the leader of the AFD, and he completely snubbed the outgoing Chancellor Olaf Scholz, who's just, I would call him a clown, but that's an insult to clowns. So JD snubbed the Chancellor in favor of meeting with what he and Trump believe to be the future of Germany, and that's the AFD. Now we're seeing that come to fruition in terms of the opinion polls for the first time ever. And this surge is happening precisely because many former CDU voters are defecting over to the AFD, with now about 8 to 10% of Germans who voted for CDU saying that they will be voting for AFD from now on. So why is that? Why this defection? Well, again, as it turns out, the establishment just ends up destroying itself. The establishment is its own worst enemy. So Merz's popularity, he hasn't even assumed office yet, but Friedrich Merz is already just absolutely imploding in popularity. So he's the leader of the CDU. He campaigned on a more conservative version and correction from Angela Merkel. In fact, in many ways, he sounded a lot like the AFD. He promised what he called a migration crackdown on his first day as chancellor. He repeatedly pledged to secure the German border, and he called for permanent border controls and a crackdown on illegal migration, including a de facto entry ban for those without valid documents. So he basically stole the AFD migration and border security platform. But literally the day after his win, just hours after the election, he came out and more or less renounced all those promises. You see, I mean, this is the problem when you coalition with open border social democrats and leftists. We're already getting reports that CDU negotiators are expected to completely dilute plans to reject large numbers of asylum seekers at the border, possibly compromising with the Social Democrats to only return asylum seekers with the consent of neighboring countries. So they're not going to be getting rid of anybody. So many Germans, I think, rightly believe that Merz has completely U-turned from his more conservative nationalist populist campaign pledges, moving too far to the left on these key issues, which means, of course, that Germans, despite having voted out their prior left-wing government, are recognizing that they're just basically getting more of the same. We're seeing this especially when it comes to the disastrous environmental policies and green policies that have been forced down the throat of Germans. Again, during the campaign, Merz came off as very critical of Germany's past climate policies, with many Germans paying extra taxes for the climate. And he promised to put the economy first before the climate, which many Germans supported. But then what did Merz do? Well, he handed the climate issue and policies over to the very leftist SPD, the Social Democrats, who are the ones who originally pushed these disastrous green policies in the first place. So we're talking, the agenda of climate neutrality by 2045. That's a Social Democrat policy. Reducing greenhouse gas emissions by 65% by 2030 and achieving greenhouse gas neutrality by 2045. That's all still now in place. All of it, of course, at the expense of the German taxpayer. Merz promised as well to rein in government spending and institute tax cuts. And now reports have come out that he's blowing up Germany's strict rules against government debt to open the door for a large amount of deficit spending on defense and infrastructure, something that obviously sits very uneasily with the fiscally hawkish views of many conservative voters who are already concerned over Germany's growing debt and the loss of their industrial base. And then Merz had the goal to blame it all on Trump. I kid you not. He's been blamed. He went full Pierre Poilievre. He's blaming it all on Trump. He's blaming Trump for the increase in spending on defense and infrastructure, claiming it's because Trump is so hostile to Europe right now. We have to do it ourselves. He said that Trump constituted a crisis that required immediate and dramatic action. The joke here is nobody in Germany is buying this. So a recent survey found that 63% of German voters said that they saw that rhetoric as nothing more than a pathetic excuse just for these politicians to spend more money. So they're not buying it. So all of this is to say that Germany's new government, they haven't even come to power yet. I think they're sworn in on May 6th. They haven't even come to power yet, and they're already a disaster. The German people are increasingly tired of this establishment status quo. They're tired of these leftist globalist policies on migration and the economy. And while many saw, stupidly in my opinion, but while many saw the CDU as a moderate center-right conservative party that would fix these issues without voting for the so-called far-right AFD, and by the way, the AFD is just basically a libertarian party. They're a border security libertarian party when all is said and done. The betrayals and the incompetence of the CDU is making it virtually impossible for more and more voters not to defect over to the AFD. So this is why it looks like the AFD has seen a 6% increase in their polling in just 2 months, in literally just 8 weeks. The trust in the CDU party, again, the most successful post-war party in Germany, that trust is an all-time low. And we're even seeing the collapse of the German firewall now, right? That strategic commitment by mainstream political parties to avoid any form of cooperation with the so-called far-right AFD. In fact, more and more CDU members, CDU politicians are coming out and openly saying that we need to officially end this firewall. If the CDU is going to have a viable political future, it's going to need to begin working with the AFD. And this was even before the AFD became the single most popular party in all of Germany. And of course, as we've been arguing on this channel now for over, 8 years, this was all inevitable. It was inevitable that the AFD would indeed become the number one party. And this is because the world is moving precisely in that direction. The world is moving away from liberal globalism and unipolar centralization and is instead returning to nation, culture, custom, and tradition. And this is especially the case in Europe. So we've seen it with the rise of Giorgia Meloni and the Brothers of Italy and Marine Le Pen and National Rally in France and Geert Wilders and the Dutch Freedom Party in the Netherlands and Jimmy Åkesson and the Sweden Democrats, of course, Viktor Orban in Hungary, Kalin Georgescu in Romania, the Vox Party in Spain, Chega in Portugal. How could I forget Reform in the UK, who are now the number one party there as well. Conor McGregor running for president in Ireland, the Swiss People's Party. We could go on and on. Everywhere you look, the nationalist populist right is ascending. The civilizationalists are ascending and the globalists are all struggling, except Canada. LOL, right? Except Canada. Freaking Canada, man. Well, we'll have Alberta as our 51st state. That's fine. When, not if, but when the AFD takes power in Germany, it will have taken over the largest country by population in all of Europe and the largest economy in Europe. Germany is the heart of the EU and the heart of all European economics and affairs. There's a reason for this firewall. An AFD government in Germany would be the final nail in the coffin of liberal globalism and particularly the EU. And if these latest polls are any indicators, that day of reckoning is indeed at hand. By the way, click on the link in the description below to get all these articles and tweets I reference throughout my videos emailed to you each and every day. You're going to love it. We want you to have the best resources out there to convince your family and your friends of this new MAGA super age that's rising here.